The year was 1965, and a low-budget musical starring Julie Andrews was released expecting to be a flop. Instead, it saved a studio from bankruptcy and became a global phenomenon. Now, over 60 years later, we're stepping inside the world of The Sound of Music to see if it still holds up today. Grab your spot on the couch. We're watching another movie at Grandma's. Let's dive in. Hello, please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House. I'm your host, Isaac. I am 16, going on 17.
And this is Seth. You brought music back into the house. I had forgotten.
Oh, welcome one and all. Seth, what is Grandma putting on for us to watch today?
If you haven't guessed it, it's 1965's The Sound of Music.
Okay, and before we jump into this, we're going to break it all down. We want to give you at home the proper spoiler warning. So if you've not seen this film, consider it spoiler territory moving forward. So let's get a little bit more information about this movie. Again, over 60 years ago, let's find out more about a little film called The Sound of Music. It was released back on March 2nd, 1965. It had a budget of $8.2 million. The box office, $287.8 million. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb sits at an 8.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes is a 83%. Letterboxd has a 4.2 out of 5. Currently, as of this recording, you can watch it for free on Disney+. It stars Julie Andrews, Christopher Plummer, Richard Hayden, Peggy Wood, and many more. It is in association with 20th Century Fox. And last but not least, we have to hear, how is Grandma going to rate this one?
Granny's family-friendly rating for The Sound of Music is a B+ for adult themes.
Okay, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, so be sure you comment down below how you would rate this film and any memories that you have with it as well. Well, let's go back. I mean, again, this is probably before our time, especially 60 years ago, but I'm still interested. What are your first memories with this film?
So I know I saw this as a young child. I probably saw clips and pieces of it since, and I'm not very familiar with this one, but I have heard most of the music, most of the songs though.
All right. I just have bits and pieces growing up. This is kind of another Grandma's House movie. It would be on. And what I do recall is this is a long movie, 3 hours just about. It's maybe right under it. And that might be why it's bits and pieces. When I'm thinking back of my first memories, is probably didn't hold my attention span as much when I was younger. But I do recall seeing it growing up and all the songs, which we're going to have to touch on, being that it's called The Sound of Music. They have to have some kind of quality songs in there, you would think. But before we think about it more, let's think, what was the expectations? Again, this is over 60 years old. So like you brought out, what was your expectations going back on the rewatch?
So at 3 hours, I was praying for an intermission. Just kidding.
Oh, we covered Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which had an intermission. So, I mean, this is right up there about the same time frame that's how movies were made. We'll get into it more, but yeah, I was kind of like, okay, my expectations is this is a longer movie. It's a different era of filmmaking, and oh boy, let's see how my kids do with this one, because musicals are not their thing. They do not like singing. So this was going to be kind of an uphill battle. I'm like, let's just see how things go from here. That was pretty much my expectations. Well, before we get into the plot rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors.
Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today.
Okay, let's take the VHS out of the cover. Let's put it in the VCR and press play.
Amidst World War II, Maria is brought in to care for the widower's 7 children. She attempts to help them through the aid of music. Get comfortable, you're in for a long ride. Bundle up for the sound of music at Grandma's.
So there you go. This is considered a classic to many for its musical style. Of course, again, it's the sound of music. You have the legendary Julie Andrews, and I just am immediately thinking, man, the setting, it's in Austria. We're going to get some good landscapes. Even today, it took my breath away. Like the way they shot the big opening, it was in a helicopter. If you read the behind the scenes, how they did that back then is still phenomenal to me. Like that is just incredible that they were able to get those kind of shots. And even today, to me, it's just, I don't know, it holds up well on just how it was shot, the angles and the landscape. So it draws you into that world right away. That's kind of what sticks out to me. But I'm really interested because we've had our share of musicals on this podcast. So I'm dying to know, what is your first impressions on this film?
So, first impressions. Songs right off the bat. Jumping right in. That being said, most of the songs aid the plot. Now, there were 12 songs.
12.
And I've mentioned this before in the podcast, and a typical musical nowadays is around 5. So it's a big difference.
Big difference.
But, it like I said, some of them aided the plots, and I'll talk about that later. Some of them didn't, I feel, but that's just my opinion.
12 songs. So I'm thinking in my mind, that sounds about right. And when they jumped into it, it was taking me back, going back to like, this is a film, bits and pieces. So it was jogging my memory each time they would go right into it. Yeah. They start off with the legendary The Sound of Music, the very title of the film right out the gate of Julie Andrews singing it. And I don't know if it's a fun fact, but I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit. I felt so bad, but I was just interested with that scene. I go back to they were in a helicopter, so it kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I wanted to learn a little bit more, but I feel so bad for her because they said that, she's singing and the shots were coming in close. It's a helicopter, so it would knock her down every shot. Yeah, I can't help but laugh, but she was quoted saying she ate more grass than sang that day because of how much she was knocked down.
I love
but it looks
it.
fantastic. I mean, if you love musicals, I get it. I really do. It's so well done. The singing. What else is there to say about Julie Andrews? We've done Mary Poppins. She's just got a terrific voice. She really was elevated to the stature of legendary after this film, I feel like. A lot of people will say Mary Poppins. I would put this up even above Mary Poppins, just to be frank, like how well she does going along with the plot. She's coming into this household where there's a captain with 7 children. She even says at one point, 7 children. So there's that hesitation. That's kind of the plot point of, these kind of polar opposites. She's always looking at the bright side of things. He's very strict. He's got this whistle where he's trying to keep all the kids in line, but I don't know. I can't help but enjoy that kind of a story. It might be done over and over again of polar opposites that come together and they end up getting married. But what did you think of the story overall? What did you think of it just from that angle?
So the plot would have pulled at my heartstrings a little bit more if there weren't as many songs. In this movie, sometimes the songs are a hindrance, I feel, and sometimes they're welcome. There are several songs. I thought there were great songs in this movie that really pushed the forward the rest of the film. But I felt like there were some songs that subtracted. They took back. They like I said, hindered the progression of the film. And sometimes when you have that many songs, it's like, can you tell does the story need to be told by dialogue or singing? And you have to choose wisely because if there's that many songs, it'd take away from the plot.
I agree.
And that's how I felt with this one.
I gotcha. Well, what I have to ask you, though, if you had a favorite, or even if it's not the favorite, just several that you did like, which one specifically?
I say the most catchy for me was How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria, but I also liked the Do Re Mi song or whatever it is. And then The Sound of Music in itself is a great score. They used it without lyrics several times with the orchestra, and that was really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably am partial to Sound of Music. It's what obviously the title of the movie is. It's what you see clips of, but it's just a well written. I mean, it's catchy. I can't help but just it brings a smile to your face. It's just well written and it's upbeat. So to start a movie that way, as much as there's some heavy elements in this movie too, the time frame it's in, the history and location and all that, it's still saying this is a musical. This is going to have a good time. So I will stress, you got to be in the right mood for this. I think that's one of those things. Thankfully, I think this kind of hit for me. I'm not ashamed to say, just because of the today's age of distractions and all these things. I'll admit I was doing like laundry, like I was folding laundry and doing like little stuff, and it was like the perfect movie for that. I don't know how else to describe it. Like you don't need to be so locked in and see every little detail. You understand what it's about, and it's a musical, so you can, kind of multitask. Especially for me, it worked out perfectly. So I was in for a good time. I mean, my kids not so much. I'll just admit they were dreading the songs. They just but they did at times feel like they got their attention. So I was actually impressed with that. This is one of the ones that kind of took me by surprise. I was thinking, okay, here we go. Like you mentioned, it's almost 3 hours long and it does have an intermission, but it came at a good time. Like the intermission was well done. So I don't know. I was actually just thought this was a well done movie and I was not expecting that. Like I was thinking this is not going to age as well as I was hoped, but going back to the characters, what'd you think of the characters overall? Because again, it's the captain, you got the 7 kids, and Julie Andrews' character.
I made a note that doing laundry during musicals might help, so thank you for that. Um,
Not ashamed.
Characters, the Dame Julie Andrews is a tour de force. She definitely steals the show with her great vocals. She acts really well in this movie, which I can't say. I try not to compare it to Mary Poppins. I mean, that you don't want to do that, but you kind of have to. And I feel like she did do a little bit better in this one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that Christopher Plummer was the love interest, and he's just notorious for great acting. I don't know if that's the right word. Notorious is probably the wrong word. He's very well known for great acting. And I thought he did a really good job. There were some hard scenes. I felt like he played a really stern character at first, but then he kind of came to life when he started seeing the kids having fun, which was really nice. That was really well done.
Yeah. That is probably what comes to my mind with his character. He's stern, and the scene that sold it for me, because I thought, okay, he's doing a good job. I really enjoy Christopher Plummer. His acting, like you said, it's really good. But the turning point is when he is about to send Julie Andrews away. We keep calling Julie Andrews, but it's Maria. He's going to send Maria away, and he hears his children singing because they were singing with her earlier, and that's the whole premise. Of course, she loves to sing, and she's just kind of that carefree spirit of just going with the flow. He's the opposite with the stern, but he hears them singing, and I was actually moved by that scene. You can say how this is an older movie, but the way it was acted, the way they captured it, I don't know what it was. It drew me in. He walks in and sees them singing. And there's that line when he goes to get her, like, no, don't leave. I want you to stay. He says, you've brought music back into my house. I had forgotten. I don't know why that was so powerful to me, but it was just like, wow, that is so, just captures the feeling so well. And I thought the acting overall was really well. The kids were great. I did read something that, it might be a fun fact, but I'll just kind of touch on it, that they actually did get actors to have the kids. They didn't get like ones of the area. They were trying to look at maybe getting children that were of Austrian descent, but they ended up going with, I think they're from United Kingdom or something like that. But they did a good job. I mean, they went for what they were wanting to do. This is a musical, so obviously the kids have got to be able to sing and capture that. I think they did a fantastic job. I mean, they each had their own personalities. You have the oldest with that love interest, and then on the way down, their own little dynamics in the family. But yeah, what'd you think about the kids?
I thought the kids did an amazing job, especially with singing and choreography. That is very difficult for most children, and I thought they did a wonderful job. Some of the songs were kind of heavy, and they pulled it off. I mean, it was those are probably some of the better moments of the movie.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm with you on that. Just like it aids the plot at times. I think overall it's just well done. I'm just again can't go back to how impressed I was of how well this holds up. Again, it is a long movie. You kind of have to understand that. But we're in a time and age where you can pause. I remember stories of relatives saying these kind of movies were events. You didn't just go to the movie theater. You actually would dress up. It was kind of an event in itself. So being that 3 hours, it makes sense why they made movies like that. It was an event. You kind of dedicated all that time. We kind of casually think, oh, I'll just put on a movie that's streaming right now, or I'll watch a little bit now and come back to it later. And you can do that. Back then it was different. That's why they even recognized we're going to put an intermission in the middle of it all. But with all that said, I was really just impressed. I found myself actually enjoying the story. And like you were talking about, the captain's arc, I just enjoyed that character of his. He did a wonderful job acting. And, it is set during World War II. That's kind of the thing about this film is it's conflicted there at the end where he is going to be called into the Third Reich and serve. And it ends abruptly. Like they get away at the end and then it ends. What do you think of the ending overall?
It does end abruptly. If I could rewind a little bit, fast forward. If I could rewind a little bit, a song that really I found it really amusing was How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? And the whole basis of the song is she's singing all the time. But they're singing about her singing all the time. And I'm like, what in the world? What are you talking about? Like, what?
That is counterproductive, right?
Yes. I just thought that was hysterical. It made me enjoy this song even more. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but comment, please, and let me know what you thought of that, because they're singing about her singing all the time and how that's a problem. But they're singing about her singing. And I'm like, isn't that like fueling the fire a little bit there? Anyway, I just thought that was really amusing.
It was odd. I agree with you. This is far from perfect. There's times where you kind of have that like, okay, that could have been done differently. And maybe some argue, okay, modern day, it's a tough ask to sit through 3 hours where things like that, you can almost cut down and that kind of thing. But you just kind of, I don't know, you got to take it how it is and understand it as the times. That's how they were
If
made.
I could bring out too, they sing this song while she's walking down the aisle. What? What are you talking about?
I think that's what your gripe with musicals is they're so matter of fact. Like they'll be singing about things that are obvious, but should it be right then and there? Probably not. But they're still doing it because it's making a point at an inopportune time. Yes.
It felt to me like they needed to fill the space with something, and they just picked a random song. It had no business being in that scene. And it made me laugh even harder because I'm literally almost in tears thinking about how that song shouldn't even be in the movie. And then on top of that, they bring it back in when she's walking down the aisle. Like, okay, are we saying that we have solved the problem? Are we saying there is no problem? I don't know.
I guess it's just a proper send-off back then. Maybe you just sing about what person's flaws are while they're getting married. Like, well, too late. You're getting married now. You're stuck with them. So there's so much you can nitpick about this. So I agree with you. Sometimes it's going to be, it does bother you, or maybe if this is one of those you just overlook, or you're that type of person that you understand that's how musicals are. Because I've noticed musicals do that. They seem to just kind of, you're just like, what? Why are you guys singing about this? So I agree. They could have cut back on those types of elements. It would have been so much better. Like that is probably the one thing you can critique about this film is, like a lot of musicals, maybe they could have cut a few things out or just done it a little bit differently. But I just throw it out to you. Anything else to touch on that we might have overlooked?
I had a couple of quick quotes before I get to the fun facts. The one quote I really liked was, "We missed all the noise you make in the mornings telling each other to be quiet, which I thought was a very clever dialogue. I love that. And then I think this is actually a song where she says, strength doesn't lie in the numbers of numbers. Strength doesn't lie in the wealth. Strength lies in the nights of peaceful slumber. And I'm like, that's really well thought out as well. That was a very crafted, well-crafted line.
Yeah.
So there was some good writing in this, for sure.
Yeah, you have to kind of expect it again. I go back to it's called The Sound of Music, so the writing should be there. If it wasn't, I don't think you would remember this movie as much. It would have been a flop. But as we touched on, this was a smash hit, and a lot of the reason is I think they had the talent of the writers and the songs. Even if, like we talked about, maybe those not all the songs hit, not all of them were that top notch. When they do, they are pretty legendary. I would say they're very catchy. They do what they are. They had their job and they fulfilled it, I'd say. They really hit on it. Well, we could go on and on, but I'm anxious to get to some fun facts. Like I said, I looked up a little bit, but I'm interested to hear what you got.
All right. So during the courtyard scene, I think this is very beginning of the movie when she's about to enter the house, she's singing, I Have Confidence. She trips. And although it was an accident, they left it in the movie because it added to her nervousness and character. And so she trips while she's singing I Have Confidence. And they chose to keep it because it was endearing. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I agree. Sometimes things just work out that way. It's like not planned, but for some reason, it's just so fitting. And that is. I don't know why it just added to her character in that moment. So that's really cool.
So also, Dame Julie Andrews learned guitar for this role.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which I wondered about when I watched the movie.
Great guitar playing in this, I have to say. We didn't really touch on like the music part. We talked about the singing and stuff, but the music is really good too. I was drawn in when the captain, he sings his song, he's playing guitar and I really enjoyed that song too. It's just kind of that laid back kind of a song that I think people don't really remember. So that was another one that kind of brought me back. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this song. It's just, can't praise enough. The music is just well done.
So I came across many stories of how Christopher Plummer did not enjoy filming this movie. But there was one thing, I was going to write it down, but it was too long. And he did in time say that he really enjoyed working with her and she was very professional. But he did not. He made a big stink over being in this movie. And I thought that was very interesting because he's such a professional actor. I was very surprised to read that.
I have to think, though, dare I say, that probably came across in his acting. If he didn't like what was going, he didn't like filming, that sternness, that just cold, it comes across so well. Like we said, we praised it before of his acting. I mean, in that case, it was, it's kind of sad that he didn't enjoy filming it, but it did pay off in a way. If you want to look at the silver lining of it, I thought he was one of the best parts of the film, other than, of course, Julie Andrews, but his acting. So that's pretty cool, though, in a way. Feel bad that he didn't enjoy it, but that's cool that I think I was picking that up a little bit. So that's really neat.
So one thing before our fun fact trivia question, I'm going to drop a bomb here. This might be as a really big shock to people. Okay. So Dame Julie Andrews, my goodness, my speech today, nearly turned down the role because it was so similar to Mary Poppins.
It is. This is this is.
Could you imagine?
I don't know. It's like a more drama Mary Poppins kind of. I could see the similarities. Yeah, she's a nanny. She's coming in and not 2 kids, but 7 kids. So I can kind of see that. She didn't want to get boxed in, but I mean, she went on to have an amazing career. So I'm glad that it worked out. But wow, the what ifs. What if it wasn't Julie Andrews? I'm wondering who they would have had as a backup. That's really interesting.
All right, it's time for a fun fact trivia question. Are you ready?
Bring it on. Let's see if I can keep this going.
Okay, so I hope this makes sense. In my mind, it does. So that doesn't mean anything compared to everybody else. But here we go. So when the Von Trapps are trying to escape from their home, do you remember that scene?
Yes. Okay.
How many men were hired to pull the car as the actors push from behind? A, 2, B, 4, or C, 6? Now, if you need an explanation, I could try to explain it to you.
So how many, not in the scene, but
Not
to
in the
actually get it
scene.
pushed?
So the actors are pushing. They hired what this describes burly men. They hired burly men to pull the car as they were pushing because it was so heavy. So how many was it? 2, 4, or 6?
Man, I'm visualizing that scene because they're trying to get away. Again, the captain was being called to serve at the Third Reich and all that, but they do show them pushing it, and I want to say it was trying to show like it's them, obviously not the extra.
Yes.
That's a tough one. Wow. Cars were definitely heavy back then. It's got to be, you said 6 was the last one, right?
Yes.
I'm going to go 6.
You're right.
Yes.
6. It says 6 burly men. They pulled 2 ropes. So I'm guessing there was 3 on each side pulling the car as the family literally pushed it. It's that heavy because cars back then were just straight steel. I mean, they were just heavy as all get out.
Yeah.
The motors were heavier than some cars today.
That's crazy to think, but it was shot well. That was another scene. I think, again, it's kind of the heavier moments of the whole movie, that whole sequence towards the end. But it's shot well, and hey, they fooled me. I still had to think about it because I'm thinking, well, maybe it was only 2 people, and they just had like the kids and them push.
Well, congratulations, you got it right. That's a hard one. I threw you a hard one with that one. That was
a hard one. Credit to you on that was a great question, but I got a streak going. I got to keep it alive. So I'm happy. All right. Well, before we get to our ratings, we like to look around and see what kind of reviews are out there. Again, this is over 60 years old. I'm really interested to see what kind of reviews you've seen out there, Seth.
All right. So our first one is smells_like_cheese said, would you ever want to solve a problem like Maria? She's wonderful. 10 out of 10.
Wow. I could see that if you enjoy musicals, I get the hype. I get why it gets so much attention. That sounds like someone that really enjoys musicals.
All right. So Silver Screen 888 says, toneful score, honest emotions, great fun, and flawless production. 8 out of 10.
Oh, right. They think it holds up well, so that's great. I mean, I agree with that. It's well production values. You're considering during that era how films were made. I do see the difference. Like, wow, this is well done. Even today, it still impresses me. What else is there to say?
So our last one was Slokes said, the sappiest hound in all the world, 4 out of 10.
Sappiest. I mean, I could see that. Yeah. Probably some of those songs like you're talking about might not have fit or hit for them as well. So, well, we got kind of an idea of what kind of reviews are out there, but I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, Seth. So I'm going to ask you the question. How are you going to rate The Sound of Music? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
So personally, I have to think, I think that if this were released today with the same value, production value, it wouldn't perform as well as it did back then. And I've said that with similar older films we've covered. I just don't think in today's standards it would be the same, which is probably true. That being said, it's an okay movie with some great songs, but I have to hide this in the attic. It wasn't for me.
I totally understand that. I think it's one of those you just have to, this is kind of its own niche. It's its own musical. It's a time period taking place during World War II. You have just, again, things that maybe go over your head today if you aren't familiar with some of that stuff. But if you do like musicals, I think this is one that you're probably going to seek out first. I think this is one that you got to put up there of like older musicals. You talk about modern musicals, they're not the same. But if you want to go with classics, I get the hype. Now, I'm with you. Is this my cup of tea typically? No, I'm not going to be pulling Sound of Music out all the time. I do think there's a lot here that you can enjoy if you even want to break it up. I think just being busy, we have stuff going on. We can't really sit there and go, do I have 3 hours to sit down and watch a musical? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. For me, I put it as a watch it at grandma's because there's just something about it that fits of growing up watching it at my grandma's. And that was every once in a while. We didn't watch it very often. I'll admit, maybe once every year or two, if not more. So it kind of just fits that way for me. I don't think it's a hide it in the attic of like, I don't ever want to watch this again, or I just didn't think it was good. I totally get what you're saying on it though, but I think I would have enjoyment coming back to it every once in a while and breaking it up. If I have to watch it all at once, it may be closer to hide it in the attic, but that's just how I feel about it. Now, my kids, I'm sure they're going to hide it in the attic. They did not like this one very much. And going back to if I do revisit this one, I don't think I'm going to do it with the kids because they're just, they're going to be miserable. I wish not to do that to my kids. At least they can say they finally saw this movie. It's a classic to many, but you know, I'm happy with that's like almost a fitted rating for me is a watch it at grandma's, but it's definitely going to be not all the time. I'm with you. It's not my kind of movie I'm going to watch all the time, but I did have a great time. I'm just really surprised how much I actually enjoyed this one.
If I could say real quick, I, as a musician, appreciated the songs. The songs were really well done.
Yeah.
However, as a movie critic, I'm thinking all the things they could have done better.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing here today. I don't have my musician, headphones on for this movie. I just thought they could have done it a little bit better, and maybe for back then they couldn't, and that's fine. But in today's standards, it didn't hold up for me. That's just my personal opinion.
I respect you for that. And just next time we have a musical, hopefully they aren't being contradicting singing about someone that sings too much.
How do we solve a problem? Look,
I totally
let's
get
sing about it.
Oh, it was still a great time though.
Yes,
that's so great. I love the thoughts you brought out about it. But there we go, folks. We got another film in the books. Before we wrap up, Seth, why don't you tell the good people that they can find and connect with us?
As always, you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us at moviesatgrandmashouse@gmail.com. We have a great newsletter, so check that out. We're on Patreon, and go to movieposters.com and use code Grandma's House at checkout for up to 15% off.
There we go. So yeah, be sure you're on our newsletter. Again, you can win a free poster courtesy of movieposters.com. We do it once a month. So much fun. Thank you so much again for bearing with us. I've been kind of sick as well. Forgot to mention that. Probably could tell a little stopped up. So thank you so much again. We appreciate all of you that are subscribed, that watch us. We love to hear your thoughts. So be sure you reach out to us. You can even leave us a comment. We love to hear memories. We love to hear ratings as well. What you think of the movies we're covering. Well, that's going to do it for now at our time at Grandma's. But don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
So long, farewell, Avita, say goodnight.
Adieu.